We're going to show you how we succeed when it comes to selling properties where other brokers fail. We're going to talk about the largest hotel in San Jose went through foreclosure again. We're going to talk about rental regrets from Gen Z and Millennials and why they still think that purchasing a home is part of the American dream. And then lastly, we're going to talk about inventory. We have the most amount of homes on the market right now in Santa Clara County than we've had over the last decade. All right, so here we are. In mid-May, as Jeet would say, happy podcast day.
Happy podcast day.
Happy podcast day.
It's an interesting time in the market, right? I think that, we're going to do the market update, kind of market minute right now. So I'll jump right in there. Between single family homes, condos, and townhomes, there are, I had to look again because I can't believe the number. There is almost 2,000. There's 1,950 units available on the market right now in Santa Clara County between single family homes, condos, and townhomes. And there's another 400 coming soon, right, that we have access to that consumers don't. So given that there's, 2,000 units on the market, there's another 400 coming at least in the next 30 days or so. And we're carrying about 2 months worth of inventory right now, right? If you look at, there's 665 pending single family homes, only 312 condos and townhomes. So we know the condo and townhome market's slowing down. We're going to get into that in a little bit. And I mean, single family homes in inventory, according to Mark Von Canel this morning, our inventory levels are at a 10-year high.
And with the inventory levels being at a 10-year high, we are now the highest median ever in San Jose with home prices above $2 million.
Yeah. So, again, still, there's only 1,150 single-family homes on the market.
What does that mean for sellers when they put price right now? Are you pricing more aggressively to compete against homes on the market, or are you pricing more transparent?
I think
never price transparent.
I think that's a great transition to our next topic, right? Is giving advice to sellers in this market.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, you list and sell a lot of homes.
Yesterday I was told by a pretty prominent agent in the area that I underpriced a property by $1 million.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens there. That's a really nice house in Saratoga. Took another house or condo in San Francisco. That was on the market for around 200 days. Dropped the price $100,000. And within 3 weeks, we were able to generate 5 offers and get it sold $100,000 for more than we listed it for. So
okay, well let's get back to the San Francisco condo story in a second, because that's more like a really good success story, and I want to spend a little bit of time on that.
But then everything that we've listed, I listed a house that backed to Southwest Expressway and train checks for $1,498, and I sold it $1,800 all cash.
Okay, so are you still seeing prices increase in neighborhoods over the last comps, or are they starting to flatten out or decrease?
Depends where, but starting to flatten out and decrease. I've noticed it in areas like south of 87.
South of 87.
Santa Teresa was just going berserk. Like, you're different because you kind of are in the hills and the properties are a little bit bigger, but
right.
G had written a couple offers on properties that are 3-bed, 2-bath with Santa Teresa High, and they were going 1.6s. It seems like some of those are starting to go 1.4s, 1.5s now.
Yeah, there's some pricing compression there. I have a client looking actively there, and some of the homes we were writing like 1.7 on are now sitting at 1.5. So it's starting to slow down in the outskirt areas, I think, and even buyers are getting pickier, right? They see that there's more options in different neighborhoods, and they're like, let's be more strategic about what we are getting, because this is going to be a long-term decision. What I was seeing last year was like, hey, I need to get in somewhere because everything is flying off the shelves. Right now it's like, okay, what's a perfect house for me? Yeah. So I'm seeing a little bit more pickiness.
And I think with all of that happening, putting a lower price than what you're actually going to sell for is artificially driving interest way up, getting them into the house, whereas maybe it was listed at 1.7, they're not even going to see it, but it's listed at 1.4.
Okay, so your advice to a seller right now, especially in those markets where things are kind of plateauing and inventory is creeping up, is you have to be ahead of the market in the pricing strategy. And ahead of the market meaning leading the pricing, being aggressive on pricing, getting them in the door, getting them to fall in love with the house, and then leveraging multiple offers to drive it back up.
Yes, but you have to do it with an agent that's confident in doing that. As it can't be the seller's idea, not the agent's idea. It has to be the agent's idea with the seller to follow, right?
Yeah.
Because when you see agents that are kind of weak do it, it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
Right. So everyone has a different style. I'm not saying one's right over the other, but that's how I do it, and it seemed to work pretty well.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure at least on single family homes, I think for just about all of us here that list and sell, I mean, we're still selling above asking price.
But something that I think you'll probably all agree on is that if you're going to do, say you are stuck on the market and you are a seller watching this or an agent watching this, and you're kind of wondering what to do if maybe you're stuck on the market, you need to drop that price low enough where it's going to turn some heads, right?
Yeah.
So we had an agent in the office call me and ask for advice, and she was priced in the 1.9 range. And she dropped the price to 1.7 and was able to get multiple offers and drove it back up to exactly where they started.
Yeah, and that was going to be my second question is, okay, yeah, we're selling over asking price because we are starting out lower, but are we hitting kind of that seller expectation and the neighborhood expectation on price per square foot and that sort of thing? And it sounds like we are.
The peak of our market so far was for sure February, March of this past year.
Which is interesting because in the past few years, it's been March, April. You know, March, April has been that point of transition where there's more inventory coming up in the summer. But this year, we saw it quite early. From December till February, we had
But we
a
also
lot
saw
of...
that in 2024,
Yeah.
right?
I think it was still later. I think this transition of more inventory coming up was somewhere around May, June, rather than March, April.
I think some of it may had to do with the new administration and the uncertainty that came in with that administration, right? I think, you know, for people that wanted to buy, they're like, let me hurry up and buy now because I don't know what the future is going to hold. And then now we're seeing, I think a lot of people just saying, hey, I don't know how strong our market's going to be long term. So let's get our house on the market now. Let's take advantage of all that equity we've gained over the years and cash out and move on with our lives. And so
it seems like the stock market, we're in the green for the year now, but the buyer confidence level of what the stock market is may not be there like it was in February.
right. And seller confidence, I think, is starting to shift as well, right? Which is why I think we are seeing more properties on the market. And if we're in, you know, we're at 2,000 units across single family homes, condos, and townhomes right now, and we're only in, you know, first week or so of May, I think June and July should be pretty interesting. I think, you know, we'll probably hit 2,500 total between the two. And, you know, we've always said once you hit about 3,000, it kind of becomes a neutral market. So we'll see what happens.
I would love 3,000 houses in the market.
I feel like a lot of buyers are taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
The ones who've been on the fence waiting, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess, what do you tell your buyers then who have bought previously, like in February and March?
So what? It's no different than buying a stock back in February and March. You're not selling in 6 months anyway. Stop looking at Zillow. It's wrong anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so just don't look at it. Just ignore the
It
noise.
doesn't matter what it's worth unless you're going to sell it.
Exactly.
It's going to go up. It's going to go down.
I mean, the stocks have recovered as of today. I mean,
Stocks do look better.
stocks have climbed significantly over the last month or last 3 weeks.
And make no mistake, I mean, the real estate bubble hasn't burst, right? I mean, you know, although you saying, Jeet, like Santa Teresa, you guys were shopping at 1.7 and now you're like in the 1.5 for the same house. I mean, that's significant. It's 10%.
Yeah, I mean, I think that portion of our area gets hit first. You know, even Livermore side, so Morgan Hill, Santa Teresa, Livermore, Pleasant, and Dublin. Those three areas I feel like move very similarly. Like when the market's going up, it goes up, and when it's going down, it gets hit first.
Okay.
But I think it's just a slight shift with the stock market recovering. I'm seeing a lot of confidence come back. Like just this morning, I've had more calls from buyers saying like, hey, you know, we should take advantage
back
of
out there.
Yeah, we should take advantage of the real estate still being at a discount while the stocks have gone up, because maybe this is just a slight increase in stocks before it goes further down, right? So let's cash out, get into real estate, get in at a good price, and lock it in for the long
Yeah,
term.
buyers are still buying.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
All you need is one.
all you need is one. And if you price it low enough, you might get two.
That's right.
That's right.
All right, let's talk, Aaron, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about condos and townhomes and what we're seeing there, because that is different than single family homes right now.
Yeah, I mean, the inventory is definitely starting to pile up. HOAs have gone up quite a bit. I would say that in Santa Clara County, condos and townhouses are much less desirable than, you know, some of the other parts of the nation where people are like wanting, like downtown Chicago or New York or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit harder to move. And then we got this new balcony law, which has just been a joke to try to get a loan. Like you dealt with it, I dealt with it.
Jeet's about to deal with it.
Yeah, I have this condo in Willow Glen, and the HOA is pretty unresponsive to things. So, but we've got good activity after the price reduction. We were initially at 725, which is towards the higher end of the comps, and then we reduced it to 699. We had a great active weekend, and I've had a couple calls this morning. So
Good.
Hopefully we get some offers.
So sell it for at least 710 because that's how much my buyer paid in that community a couple months ago.
Yeah. But it just feels like the market's been flooded a little bit with condos, especially.
Oh, absolutely.
And the price is just it's not going up.
Yeah,
It's kind of flat
we're
line.
getting ready to make an offer on one on Winchester, and luckily we're all cash. And I think normally I don't think there's a big advantage in being all cash in our market because financing's so secure that it's almost like cash anyway. But in the condo and townhomes, with the uncertainty of the HOA and the insurance, I do think if you're coming in all cash, you have some leverage there. Let me ask you. You were talking about HOA prices going up. I think that's the biggest killer for condo appreciation is HOA amount, because we're looking at two right now. One of them has an HOA of $540, the other has an HOA of $715. I think the one at 540, even though it's not quite as desirable, has more room for appreciation than the one at 715.
Yeah, once you start getting above 500,
Yeah.
the threshold goes way down. Way up or way down? People don't want it.
Yeah.
Is what I meant.
Yeah, because we know HOA monthly HOA dues only go up; they never come
like
down.
The HOA, like we just sold that property on Stockton, in the heart of San Francisco, and that's over $1,000 a month, and you get an elevator.
I was gonna say a lot of these HOAs don't
they're out
even
of
cover
control.
what it's worth.
Yeah, but
landscaping.
the issue is that there's still a deficit with what they need for a balance to carry, right? Like if that roof goes out or
Yeah.
if
Well,
a major thing happens.
Yeah, and think about when we talk about tariffs and the cost of lumber and labor, all those things are going up. And so even though maybe 10 years ago, they based their projections off of what it was then, well, we all know that the prices have increased, and so a lot of those HOAs, like you said, have a deficit.
Yeah.
In fact, the condo on Winchester, in the HOA docs, it says they are planning on doing a $14,000 per unit assessment in 2030. So, I mean, you imagine buying a $700,000 condo, first-time home buyer, and then you get hit with a $14,000 assessment. How do you even pay for that?
Yeah. One of my clients that owns a condo in Oakland called me a few weeks ago, and they had like this emergency meeting of all the owners, and they were like, we are about to get hit with a $40,000 assessment, and you can just see all the owners like, holding their heads on the Zoom call and then calling each other, thinking who's gonna sell first.
Yeah.
So that building's gonna get flooded with a lot of homes.
But again, I do think it's an opportunity, right? I mean, normally when an HOA complex goes into litigation, values drop by about 10 or 15%. And I used to always tell clients, that's when you want to buy. Buy when they're in litigation, because as soon as they come out, you're going to get a 10% boost in appreciation. But that's back when HOA dues were $200 and $300 a month. Now, when, like Aaron said, it's $1,000, $700. I mean, it's hard, for those to make sound investments. Now, again, if that's what you can afford, you can get into, so be it. But as an investor, I'd stay away from condos.
So do you feel like a lot of the HOA companies have done a bad job over the last 30 years of maintaining the property? Like how could this have been prevented?
Well, I mean, yeah.
I think some of it's just uncontrollable too. Like when insurance goes up and they have to equate for more of it, they have to increase those rates. It's like there's so many things I feel like you can't control with an HOA that they're looking at.
Well, and look at with SB, what is it, 362 or whatever, with the stairs and balconies. I mean, nobody expected that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the interesting thing on that is it's not just condos and townhomes. It's any multi-unit over 4 units. So, we're doing multi-family projects, sales right now where we have to go get this inspection report and it's knocking $200,000 off of the price because of the cost of repairs. So it's going to be interesting for a while.
Yeah.
I wanted to introduce a new segment called the VKG Deal of the Week. It's where we share some aspects of the house and we give them, some information for them to reach out and ask more if they're interested.
So it's like clickbait for our listeners.
That's right.
Right. So we tease them with just enough information.
So we have this condo in Willow Glen right now.
All right. Well, then what do you got, G? Let's hear it.
The first one is a investor special. It's a 4-plex in Sacramento.
Okay.
It's 7 beds, 4 baths, 3,700 square feet, under 800,000, and it's a cash flow play. The current rents are $5,800 a month.
So why don't you buy it?
I would. I would buy it. But I was thinking of buying a flip that I couldn't last week. So now I'm buying
This is a great topic.
This is
Why
actually-
didn't you get the flip?
No, hold on, because I want to take it from the top. Speaking of flips, right? We actually did a coin flip to see which one of you guys were going to get a flip. And, I wish, G, you would have been in the office so we could have recorded the whole thing, because we FaceTimed you, and the look on your face when you lost the coin toss, oh, my heart just sank.
Yeah,
I
you
felt
called
so
me.
bad.
You're like, we should give it to him.
I know. I feel bad. Actually, I was telling Amber, I was telling my wife about it, and she's like, you guys are... She's like, you should have gave it to Jeet. And I was like, oh, man. So then I text Aaron. But, no, it's interesting, right? Because...
You know what was worse? I was driving back from the property after I showed it to my parents, and they loved it.
Hey, man, you had every chance. You left the shark in the tank. You had one whole month.
2
Okay.
weeks. But okay.
So you've got us off track from your deal of the week. So I don't think anybody's even going to remember what we're talking about.
Yeah, so
Well, who's going to drive to Sacramento to show it? You?
G will.
No, I have a partner agent up there that would,
part of the VKG team.
not really, but a great friend who's a agent up there and deals with a lot of investors. I just refer him deals up there, and so I can connect you.
So to recap, Jeet's deal of the week. It's a fourplex in Sacramento.
7 beds, 4 baths,
So it's 4 units, and it generates $5,500 a month in total income.
5,800.
4 units in Sacramento that generates $5,800 a month in total income, or roughly $60,000 a year.
60, yeah.
What's it look like at 25% down?
70.
Wait, hold on. All right, so $65,000 a year in income, and it's listed for how much?
It's listed for 775.
$775. Okay, so if someone puts 20% down,
25% is investment property.
okay, 25%, so they're going to carry a mortgage of about $475,000.
Yep, and their monthly payments would be about 43 to 4,500
Okay.
plus whatever management fees would be, and so they would
And property
cash
taxes?
flow. Yep. No, that's including PITI. So
Okay.
their total payments would be about 4,500 plus management fees.
Okay.
So let's say 4,800, and they would cash flow about 1,000, give or take, 800 to 1,000 after you put aside some money for.
Okay,
for
and plus you get to
unfortunate-
depreciate the asset on your taxes and all that good stuff.
Exactly.
All right, there's Jeet's deal of the week. Aaron's got a deal of the week too.
What's mine?
We won't give the address, but it's a home in San Jose. It's on a off market. It's on a cul-de-sac.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that and why you think it's a good deal? Okay, if you don't want to, I will.
Yeah, you.
All right.
I know you're teeing me up, but tee yourself back.
Okay, well I will
You were
talk
in the-
about it.
Is it the phone call I got?
Yeah.
Oh, you talk about it.
All right, I'll talk a little bit about it. Again, so what part of San Jose is it in?
95136.
Okay, 95136, which you just did a flip there and made a nice little profit, sold it for over 1.7, right? And this one is what, a block over, same street? Same street, similar floor plan, slightly smaller lot, and where you're acquiring it at a price of about 135, right? And so, that's a great opportunity.
Cheat. He wants a coin flip for it.
He's drooling. Why are you drilling? So there's an opportunity there for somebody, whether you buy it, fix it up and flip it yourself, or if somebody wanted to try it, themselves, they could buy it for around 135 to 1.4 in that range, and maybe put a little bit of sweat equity in and have a nice home with some built-in equity, or put it back on the market and have you list and sell it. So would you consider that a deal of the week?
Yeah, but I already bought it.
That's not the point. The
Oh,
point
you're
is
right.
that they reach out.
Okay.
And by the time they reach
Guys,
out,
reach out. This one's going to go quick.
something else I want to talk about, kind of interesting. Anybody know what the most expensive, well, it's not in Santa Clara County, but I'll just cut to the chase. You guys ever heard of the Green Gables Estates in Woodside?
Yeah. Is that on the market again?
It is on the market again. Look at you knowing your luxury market. So back in 2021, they attempted to sell the 74-acre estate in Woodside.
That's where she got arrested.
Why are you looking at me like,
Theranos.
oh, Elizabeth's home?
She was renting it, I'm pretty sure.
Was she really?
might need to fact check.
All right, we'll
myself
fact
on
check that.
Jake, can you fact check that?
All right.
Go
So
ahead.
Green Gables Estates in Woodside, 74 acres. Back in 2021, it was listed for $135 million. Didn't sell, which is kind of interesting. 2021, we're probably coming out of COVID, right?
Correct.
Oh, Elizabeth Smart was renting
Elizabeth
it.
Holmes, yeah.
Or Holmes. Yeah, Elizabeth Smart was the one that got kidnapped. So Elizabeth.
It's
Yeah,
not funny, but
yeah, but
just similar name.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So you could purchase the formerly rented, the estate that was formerly rented by Theranos founder and current
Convict.
felon, incarcerated Elizabeth Smart.
Holmes.
Whatever.
What's it on the
Holmes.
market for?
So they dropped it 10 million. It's now on the market for 125 million because it was 135 back in 2021. But here's the twist, and this is why I wanted to bring it up. So 74 acres, largest estate, basically available. It's been in the family for generations, and the family really wanted somebody to buy the entire thing and preserve it like they did, for generations to come. However, they recognize that might be a lot of money, even in a market like ours. It's very affluent. So what they are doing is they are parceling it off. You could buy it all together for 125 million, or you can buy the main house and the surrounding land for a mere 55 million.
Deal of the week 3.
Deal of the week 3. Not as
interesting.
good as Jeet's deal in
I think
Sacramento.
that's a smart play because
I think so,
at
too.
100+ million, I imagine you can count less than 1,000 people maybe in the world can afford something like that.
Yeah, and then like the maintenance and property taxes. So you parcel it off. Main house at 55 million, although it seems still astronomical for us, is more palatable for your tech CEO, right? And then that way you're not paying property taxes on a bunch of land that you're never really even using.
So if you parcel it off and somebody buys a parcel, can they build on it?
Absolutely, it's California, baby.
So I guess you would lose this, ultra exclusivity feel.
Yeah, but I'm sure the main house at 55 million probably has 12 acres
That's
or something.
a really good play because my question before you finished that was, okay, we go on a listing appointment. We're like, hey, this is worth 150 million. What's your marketing strategy to move it?
Yeah.
It's cool to get the listing, but it's not super cool when you're dumping all this money in and it's not selling.
Yeah, and shout out to
that's a good idea.
Shout out to the husband and wife team over at Compass that got the listing.
Who is it?
I don't know.
Oh.
But,
Yeah,
it's,
badass.
but it's not us.
That's
But good for you.
Yeah, I think good for you guys.
Yeah.
Maybe next time try us.
When it doesn't sell this time around,
That's cool. What do you got, Ben?
No, I was gonna piggyback.
no, just phlegm.
Yeah.
No, that was. I mean,
No
When,
phlegm
when we
either?
were talking about the townhomes earlier, I mean, it's like, is it a good deal right now for people who can't afford the monthly mortgage of a $1.8 million home in Santa Clara County? Because I think there's like a big disconnect between wage and price per month. Because I think people have the opportunity.
Wage and price per month. What do you mean by that?
Like what they make in their jobs, they have the opportunity to save money for a down payment. But then they get into the home, and that monthly mortgage can equate to close to what probably they're making per month.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously it's harder now, especially, going back to the beginning of the conversation where price points above $2 million average in San Jose.
Uh-huh.
So for the first time home buyer, how do you get in? How do you, tell yourself what we're doing now is the long-term play? And I think it goes back to the townhomes and condos. If you find something with a decent HOA, I think there's still an opportunity to get in to make money. I don't think it's necessarily the turn and burn game when it comes to it, but 3 to 5 years from now, there's an opportunity to take that money and move it into something else. But I don't think you should give up on the opportunity to be a homeowner. I think you should delay the time or the idea of getting a 4-bedroom if you want. But
Sometimes I have no clue what you're saying.
yeah, well,
Well,
half the time I don't know what you're saying.
But it's like so many words.
you've said a lot, but actually, you bring up a good point, which is a good segue to the final topic. What are you doing over there, bud?
But you said something that made me think.
Okay.
Can I say it?
Yes,
Let me
because
see
you
if I
don't think
can-
very often.
Let me see if I can articulate it correctly.
Okay.
Ben and I are about the same age,
Uh-huh.
and I feel that what really killed condos and townhouses for buyers around our age is interest rates being so high that it's made the monthly payment to what you were saying. I think you're like, for $6,000, I don't want basically an apartment. I'd rather
Yeah.
just rent for $3,000, right? So I think interest rates ultimately is what made the Santa Clara County condo and townhouse market super flooded because it eliminated that younger buyer.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And actually, I just read a report of kind of, we'll call it renter's remorse or non-buyer's remorse, right? Gen Z, what's the age demographic for Gen Z? Do you guys know what that is? Aren't you guys Gen Z?
I think
Maybe?
I'm millennial.
I'm a millennial too.
Okay.
Jade's Gen Z.
I'm borderline, yeah.
All right, so Gen Z, 25 and below, millennials, we'll just say 26 to whatever, 35 or so. Anyway, they did a national survey of renters, right? And then they broke it up by, gen category and asked them, are you resentful or do you have remorse that people your own age or younger are buying homes and you're not? 63% of Gen Z said yes, they're resentful and remorseful that they can't afford to buy a home. 67% of millennials felt the same way too. So I bring that up to say, I still believe it's the kind of a goal or American dream, if you will, to own real estate in this nation, not just our market, but across the United States. So to your point, Ben, yes. What do? They're going to have to save and maybe wait for interest rates to go down so that condos and townhomes are more affordable. But this was the interesting thing that I found in the article. 69% of Gen Z buyers regretted buying fixer-upper properties because they underestimated the cost of repairs. And then overall, they underestimated the budgeting costs of home ownership, right? It's those things that you don't know till you become a homeowner. And, we didn't budget that the water heater is going to go out, or we need a new roof, right? Or, all of those things. And so it's, home ownership is great. I still believe it's the American dream, but as long as interest rates are high, and our prices are high, it's going to be hard for a lot of people out there.
Do you think you budgeted for like how much? I mean, I respect what you're doing to your house because you're doing the not sexy stuff, roof, plumbing.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people do the kitchen first or the bathrooms first. Like, do you feel like you're spending more money on your property than you expected?
I think items come up quicker than expected. I was expecting it, but I didn't think it would happen
Like
so
what?
quick. Like when a random roof, you need to replace a roof because insurance just drops on you. Like I knew the roof needed to be replaced, but when we were purchasing it, it was like, okay, we're going to budget. We can make it through this winter. We'll do it in the later part of 2025 once the summer's hit and it kind of passes. Then it hits you in the middle of the winter and it's like, okay, now you got to budget. And it's funny because it's not only budgeting the price it costs to do it, but it's budgeting the price plus the mortgage that month. So some people, I think, forget that there's the mortgage. It's not just like, okay, the roof costs $20,000 this month, but then your mortgage is also $8,000, so you have to budget for $30,000. It's not just budgeting for
That's a good point.
the roof.
Yeah.
I think a lot of buyers forget that, is that you have to include everything with it. It's not just one object.
I just forget to budget.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like if you don't think about it, you don't have to worry about it. But
you just go sell another house, right?
But first time home buyers, I think that is the hardest part, is getting in and then being able
shell
to
out your down payment and then you need a roof.
Yeah,
Pipes
surprise.
and this and that.
Yeah. All right, last thing I want to talk about is Aaron's success story, right? And it really is a success story because we succeeded when other real estate agents failed. So why don't you take us through that story, from the beginning, from the old broker, what they didn't do right, to when you got it and how you succeeded for your client.
Yeah. So we took over a property in San Francisco. Number one, sometimes working with the not local guy is not the most important thing. In this case, it was not the most important thing to our sellers. I live, 45 minutes away from that property. But when I walked in, I felt like I was in the late 90s and early 2000s. The property was nice, but not screaming at the correct buyer.
Right. And so just back it up just a little bit. It was on the market with another broker for how long?
200 days.
200 days. Okay. So 7 months with another broker, didn't sell, and it was priced at?
They ended up at 900,000.
It was listed at 900,000?
Started at 9 and change, and then they kind of did the slow trickle down.
Okay. So when you took it over, it was listed at right around 900,000 with the prior broker, been on the market for 7 months. You walked in and it gave you a 90s feel.
Yeah, kind of a 90s, early 2000s. And I was like, hey, we need to get rid of the gold. It was like more like brass, not the modern gold. So we got rid of that and changed it to chrome and silver as much as we could. We painted the cabinets from that tan oak color to white. painted a couple walls, and then got rid of any of the seller's belongings and staged it. So there was a TV on the wall, there were some big speakers. So we just cleaned it up a little bit and then staged it with modern furniture.
And then you went back on the market and priced it at what?
$798.
Do you think it's easier for a seller to understand that strategy after failing with the other strategy? Or do you think going in and immediately telling them, let's say you were the one 200 days ago to say we need to price it here, do you think they would have reciprocated as well?
The assignment was very clear. He was not going to take anything less than $900,000, and he didn't care how I got him there, which is the kind of seller that you want in this situation. Hey, this is the number. I'm not selling for $1 short. So I had a bunch of offers early out of the gate in the 800 range. I counted everyone at 900. If an offer came in, they would automatically get a counter, because the key for us was to be able to get buyers through the door.
Right.
So once I had them fall in love with the property, they have the views and they realize that, oh, this is a great property, but we are competing against so many condos in San Francisco. I just had to get people through the door. And then ultimately, once they're through the door, we can kind of hook them.
Yeah, and so you ended up selling it for $900,000.
Yeah, we're pending right now.
So you told the seller, we're going to just get them, counter them at
just
9.
follow my lead. Hey,
Yeah.
you're going to be getting counters. I'm not going to be updating you every single second.
Yeah.
But like, I got it. People are seeing it.
We'll get you the
Anytime
number
an
you want.
offer comes in, we're going to counter it at 900.
And he was like, okay.
in one bit.
Every time. We'll keep, if you want contingencies and things like that, totally cool.
Just
in
give me
this
the
case,
price.
it was about the price.
Right.
So now we're in the finance contingency period, but we got the price. So
Awesome. No,
yeah,
that's
I'm
a great
stoked for them.
That's a great success story, and then it actually ties back to what we first started talking about today. Was there's a lot of different strategies to sell a home, and sometimes when agents call you and say, "Hey, you priced it too low. Why'd you do that?" I think a lot of times they don't understand the motivation and the strategy behind what we do when it comes to pricing, because it's definitely an art. More than it is a science when it comes to determining a list price.
Right. And like something like the property that's listed for over $100 million, right? They probably know damn well that they're not going to get their full list price, right? So they're willing to go backwards. So I could have priced it at 1.2 million and gone backwards really slowly. That was kind of the path that they were on, right? And ended up maybe at 9. But, you have to choose the plan and stick with it, and stick with what you're good at, right?
Absolutely.
Like every agent's different. David's going to do it differently. Jeet's going to do it different. Ben's going to do it. But like, your client chose you for a reason, and I think it's important that you elevate your game and step up for them.
Well, yeah, and be confident in what you're doing, right? I think that's
If
ultimately
you think
it.
it's a bad idea, it's a bad idea.
Yeah, if you're not believing what you're conveying to your client, then yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing that strategy just because you saw, Aaron do it on a podcast. Awesome. All right.
So the market's good.
Market's good.
The number of houses are going up, but I think
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a pretty strong next couple weeks here, and hopefully the stock market stays strong throughout. And I'm excited. So if anyone sees this and has any questions, we're always available.
Yeah, or want more information about our deal of the week, we are always here.
Gee, you should tell me about a deal in like LA next.
I will.
He's got a deal in
Fine.
Scranton, Pennsylvania. The home was occupied by a former president. No. All right, I think that's it, guys.
Cool. All right. Peace.
We're out.
See you.